Welcome back, Alpha Hunters. Hope everybody is doing terrific this Thursday. All right, so what do we got going on in the market today? Well, Tesla did not do well, but it didn't matter because we got to this morning, and actually we were actually set up for a lower open this morning. We can go through a little bit of all that. But we were set up for a lower open. Then we got the data this morning that we were supposed to get. GDP, and the markets ripped it pre-market, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Anyways, nice little gap up here, about 0.4%. No, a little bit higher. Yeah, about 0.45%. Nothing crazy. Nothing that we didn't take out yesterday's high. You can see like we've basically been within the trading range of yesterday afternoon's kind of market sell off. The intraday high to low, which we basically just now put in the intraday low, has been 0.5% high to low. So, yeah, I mean that's how it goes. This is how it goes. All right, so the Qs. One thing I'm watching here on the Qs, and obviously it's really important right now as we are selling off on the market, and basically we just did fill that gap. So we did have that open gap that basically just filled it. It is what it is. I was kind of hoping to see an island reversal. Obviously the Qs are lagging behind. You got the SPY actually basically flat a little bit positive. IWM positive, DIA positive, RSP 0.5% up. That's the best performer. But you can see the Q is actually a third negative on this past 12 minutes or so was selling off here, and looks like a lot of people are starting to lock in tech profits. So we'll see if it continues going on. IWM though, nice gap up here on the IWMs, kind of faded down like Qs and SPY before it. Not major breakdowns here, still positive a little bit, nothing crazy. DIA, Dow Jones Industrial Average, kind of just choppy. Higher opens, down from the open. A little bit more bullish action there in the first 45 minutes. RSP, the biggest outperformer on the day. So typically whenever the RSP kind of leads, this is financials are doing well. Financials are doing well. There's a lot more financials out there that kind of in the S&P 500, a lot more of the financial companies that kind of take up the weighting. So up 0.5% here, not down too much from the gap up. Gapped up roughly 0.75%. You can see it's not doing too bad there on the intraday. See, it kind of makes sense. Yeah. Also, utilities looks like it's doing pretty well. I mean, there maybe not. I don't know. That's kind of hard to judge. There is some red out there on financials. Maybe I'm a little off on that. Well, we'll have to see. Dig a little deeper. We'll dig a little deeper. All right, let's run through the daily. How's the daily look? Or the daily time frames look? Nice gap up. Yesterday's sell-off was kind of an interesting one, but it pulled back into the daily moving averages. Could look to consolidate here and push higher. We'll see. Here in the next couple of days, I wouldn't really do anything right now. DIA, Dow Jones Industrial Average, kind of looks like it's consolidating, pulling back into the moving averages that are uptrending. I wouldn't really do anything right now. IWM, kind of mentioned into the previous couple of days, we gapped up 2 days up to about this 198 level, 198.3 level roughly, and sold off both days back to back down. Today we gapped up and sold down again. We didn't open up there all that high, but we did open up about 1.5 lower, or about a point lower than what we did, what was that, Tuesday, Wednesday? So the thing I'll say is there's definitely selling going on here. Obviously, it's pretty obvious. The thing is you better see the breakdown or this thing is going to push higher, because we are seeing selling, but we're not breaking down. So you better see that breakdown of these moving averages very soon, or it's going to start to push higher. And if people are trying to short here, they're going to have to cover as we push higher. So but there is obviously selling going on there. You just want to see it break down sooner rather than later. You don't want to see the breakdown happen. Take its time, because typically it won't take its time. All right, Qs, kind of just mentioned it, just filled this gap that we had. I was kind of hoping to see an island reversal Let's go intraday, early market extended, and my mistake. I actually thought we were a little lower than that. I actually thought we were down in this area this morning on the Qs. Maybe we were on this buy. I'll check. But yeah, you can see, we had that pop when we got the GDP data, and that was kind of the data that we got. SPY, a little bit lower, kind of where it is now. Okay, so we weren't as low as what I thought we were pre-market. It's all right. But we are definitely not holding. Obviously, the SPY, 2 gap ups in a row, kind of looked like the IWM, right? 2 gap ups in a row, roughly the same level, kind of selling down. So people are taking the opportunity to lock in profits. This is kind of how it is. Qs, obviously getting some pretty good selling. Qs is pretty extended here. Definitely want to see it pull back. And, it is what it is. It's not going to be an island reversal now. So unless we kind of close where we are now and then maybe gap up and then discount the wick that we had on Monday, markets don't really work that way. But, yeah, I would say if we close here a little bit higher and then maybe gap down tomorrow, or tomorrow, Friday. I mean, there would be a case for a little bit of an island reversal there, not a total one, as you'd have a little bit of overlap with that wick that we had on Monday. But some people don't like to count wicks. I do. It's just kind of your preference. SPY though, same kind of deal. Gapped up, selling off. Hasn't broken down yesterday's low yet. And there you go. Now I'm going to take a quick look at one of the most important stocks on the day, TSLA, and very much mentioned. There was 4 possible scenarios, and this was, to me, the more probable one. I just wouldn't have played this until it actually gapped below this mid 190s. And I looked at this morning. It almost worked to a T. Kind of mentioned if it gaps below this mid 190 line, it would probably retest into that very quickly and just look to take that bearish, and it did basically that. And what this signifies here, because this is already a hell of a downtrend that we've had go on here on Tesla since December 28th. This is people giving up. That's what this is. This is people giving up. I would imagine this probably continues on here for a few more days because people are just going to continue to give up here over the next few days. But there will be a very sharp rally. It'll probably come pretty deep. So we'll have an open gap. We'll also have this huge kind of downtrending high line going out. So I would imagine this thing probably continues to sell off. There's no way you could probably play this right now, in my opinion. It's already in a move. It's already pretty extended into a move. So I would just keep an eye on it if you want to maybe go counter trend, because it's going to get pretty extended as people probably continue to give up on it over the next few days. And I'd maybe look to take it positive, bullish. And we can take a look at that, in the next few days, few weeks, see how something maybe sets up here on Tesla. But I wouldn't want to be a long-term investor here. I've kind of been in that boat for years. Last year for TSLA, I'm going to just briefly talk about this real quick, but last year for TSLA was all about margin compression, and the 2 years before that was all about competition coming into their space, into the EV space. And now what you saw over the past 18 or so months with EVs, the EV space, was talking about margin compression with Tesla. But it's not just that, but it's people that were interested in buying electric vehicles, but they couldn't get their hands on Teslas because demand was really high. But now people are stuck with their interpretation of electric vehicles from non-Tesla electric vehicle companies, right? Or non-Tesla electric vehicles like GM or Ford or Fiat, Mercedes. So, does Tesla provide a better high quality electric vehicle experience? I'm sure they probably do. This is what they've been doing. But people that have bought electric vehicles over the past 18 months, 2 years, Do they feel like electric vehicles are great? Well, if you went with one of the other competitors, probably not so much. Probably just not as good of an experience. So I think that continues. Will probably continue to hit Tesla because now the perceived notion of electric vehicles is just not worth it, even though those people just didn't even buy a Tesla. So that would just be kind of what I would think, and that's probably just going to continue to hammer on Tesla for probably good ways. Probably a good ways. Also, people track the used vehicle, electric vehicle market, and that has dropped off substantially over the past year. So, yeah, a lot of things not going right for Tesla, and it's just what happens when you get competition that comes into your space. You know, they were the only players. It is no longer that case. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at the VIX. VIX moving up a little bit. Bounced pretty good yesterday. Didn't really have a reason to. We gapped up pretty good. We definitely sold off from the gap up, but you know it is what it is. VIX bouncing a little bit today. We're flat on the SP 500. We're not really doing much. Gapped up, sold off a little bit. So yeah, interesting move on the VIX. VIX has been very protective. You can see like we topped out on the VIX back in mid December. SPY continuing to make all-time highs. Made a new all-time high yesterday. So, I mean, people just continue to be very, very protective. And, I mean, that's just very evident here in the VIX. Let's see. PCC. Does the PCC kind of tell us anything? Put-call ratio? Not really. As long as it's down this level, this is kind of the norm. This and lower. So, yeah. Not really telling us anything. Not a lot. I don't know. I need to do a little bit of research on what the difference is between the PCC and the VIX. So yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'll do that. DXY dollar bouncing pretty good here today. You would expect that with how good GDP was. Speaking of, let's look at GDP real quick, or the data we got this morning. So durable goods orders month over month came in 0%. GDP growth rate for Q4, this should be Q4, 3.3%. The market was expecting 2%. Prior was 4.9%, which was Q3. So that's kind of an interesting number there, 3.3%. And we came in, I'd say, quite a bit higher than 2%, which is what the market was expecting. Now, if you remember back in when we got Q3, when we first got Q3 data, it came in a little bit hot. I forget what it was expected to come in at, but it wasn't a huge beat like that. It was about in line, or maybe 0.1 or 0.2% higher than what the forecast was calling. But it was the revision that we got a month later that popped it up like 2%. That was crazy. So I wouldn't expect we get a revision that high. And the thing that's very interesting, though, is we got durable goods orders, and I get it. This is month over month. So this is looking, I guess, at November, December, and GDP is looking at all of Q4. But you wouldn't think durable goods orders would just be zero. I don't know. You would think they would have been more in line with forecasts at like 1.1. So something's really weird with data. Not with how much data just continues to get revised, and the variant, and I'm really kind of talking about the variances on data revisions from supposed to be the government sources of data are not. I mean, they're just unreliable because the variances are so large now. And anyways, we're gonna get some more data tomorrow. Core PCE, personal income, personal spending. But yeah, just that GDP number, man. Something weird. Something's been weird with data, and we'll see what data continues to come in at. GLD. I mean, dollar's up. Gold's up a little bit. It's down from the open. Probably makes sense because the dollar's probably been pushing higher since the open. Yeah, it's been pushing higher ever since we got GDP data. So yeah, dollar going to push higher is not going to be bullish for stocks. Dollar looks like it's about to seriously push higher. But GLD, I don't think it would have a massive drop off, but I think it's going to struggle for a little while. It's probably just going to sideways consolidate for here for a bit. 10-year yield pulling back a little bit, still could just be consolidating here. Did not wind up taking out this high that we put in back on January 19th, which I would say that's probably good for how much we've pulled down today. So it could still just be consolidating in here. Kind of interesting that yields have dropped off as much as they have, even though GDP's up as much as it is. 10-2 inversion, got 2-year yield doing pretty good today. Or 10-year 2 popping pretty hard today. The 2-year yield, nice drop off there. Very much dropping a little bit more than the 10-year yield. Be interesting to see if we have a little bit of a head and shoulders form here. You get a shoulder neckline. I wouldn't worry too much about this really volatile wick day. You got head, neckline. So be curious to see if we come down to this level, form a shoulder. Kind of threw a lower wick into this area yesterday, but maybe we come a little bit lower with how much the yields have kind of dropped off here today. And then maybe see a base out. Yeah, I don't know. Be interested to see if we have that. And mostly because the only reason why I mention that is because of how in line these this neckline is. Neckline's pretty much at the same level. HYG pushing higher. Yields have dropped. Kind of talking about over the past couple of days, we're getting to that point. Really, not really so much on the HYG, but the HYG very much is still kind of forming this, this pennant pattern that we got here. So we haven't really broken this out higher. So still in this consolidation type area until further notice. I mean, even if you take to the kind of the body of the candle from January 12th, it's kind of where we are now, kind of that top, but it kind of depends. I like taking it actually at the wicks, so hey, it is what it is. LQD bouncing a little bit. It was hovering right on the support line yesterday. We're not really pushing higher so much, kind of flat on the intraday. Okay. I would want to see it like pop higher, but it's a pretty good gap today. Maybe it just consolidates and pop higher tomorrow. So we'll have to see how that looks tomorrow. TLT sideways consolidating down here, hasn't really reversed. Still just kind of just hanging out for now. Take a look at that sector rotation. 3 minute. Okay. So this is market performance for the day. Utilities, energies, real estate doing the best on the day. Communications also doing pretty good. Staples, industrials, materials doing pretty good. Financials. Okay, so I would have thought financials would have been higher. Okay. Financials, a little bit of outperformance. Tech, kind of in line, a little bit of underperformance there. Healthcare, underperforming pretty good. And discretionaries. Tesla, really kind of weighing on discretionaries there. So, there you go. If we take out the gap, there we go. So we see energies have actually done pretty well throughout the day, especially here over the past hour and a half, 2 hours. Roughly over the past 2 hours, they've done very well. XLE. Communications also done pretty good, but it's been fading down here over the past couple hours. Staples, utilities, industrials, real estate, materials, healthcare, kind of all outperforming there. Financials underperforming, discretionaries, tech underperforming, definitely over the past 30 minutes or so, a little bit over 30 minutes. They've definitely both been underperforming pretty much a lot. And you can see tech was actually outperforming pretty good into about the 2.5 hour mark of the day, 2 hour, 15-minute mark of the day. Not really doing well since then. Okay. That's interesting. I'm going to need to take a look here. Yeah, you can see tech has really gotten hit from that kind of high time period. Okay.